Business disruptions often happen when an organization relies on something that leadership didn't realize was critical. In this video, I'll show you how we uncover those dependencies utilizing a risk taxonomy, a simple way to see where operations could realistically stop before an incident occurs. My name is JIMMIA Williams, and this is a part of my educational series, the JIMMIA Effect. In this series, we're using a fictitious firm called Clear Ledger Tax and Advisory Services. It has about 25 employees. Some are remote, some are on site. They handle sensitive financial client data. Like many small businesses, it relies on a combination of documented procedures, institutional knowledge, and third-party vendors to operate. Now let's walk through the risk taxonomy and why it matters to leadership. What you're looking at here is the risk taxonomy. It is a way to organize the types of risks that could affect the business. At this stage, we're not prioritizing yet. We're identifying where the company has exposure and why it matters to leadership. First is identity and access management risk. It relates to who has access to the company's systems. Because the company has seasonal employees, there is a frequent occurrence of onboarding and offboarding users. This matters to leadership because if a previous employee still has access to the system, they could potentially expose the sensitive client data, and this could lead to regulatory exposure and loss of client trust. Next is physical environment. This relates to their office space and their physical location. If a natural disaster was to occur, or equipment damage, or even theft, this could directly impact operations and its ability to serve clients. This matters to leadership because this impacts revenue and business operations. Next is human capital risk. This relates to employees and their knowledge to fulfill their roles. If an employee isn't properly trained or information isn't relayed to the new employee, there can be a gap in processes which could lead to errors occurring or work to slow down. For leadership, this matters because it directly impacts operational efficiency and client services. Next is business continuity and resilience risk. This relates to the organization's ability to sustain operations despite disruption. For example, if a storm or a fallen tree made the business unusable, then the employees would not have a place to work. Without a recovery plan, alternate workplace, or even remote capability, operations could stop. This matters to leadership because it directly impacts revenue and their ability to fulfill business obligations. Next is information security risk. This relates to the protection of company information and client data. If someone was to gain unauthorized access to this information, they could expose, alter, or lose this information. For leadership, this matters because this could entail regulatory fines, legal liability, and loss of client trust. Next is compliance risk. It relates to adhering to regulatory and legal requirements. If the company submits documentation late or it's incomplete, they could face penalties and regulatory action. For leadership, it matters because it affects the company's ability to operate and its credibility. Next is operational risk. This relates to day-to-day management. If oversight or roles are not clearly defined, then responsibilities can be missed. For leadership, this matters because it affects daily operations and the ability to efficiently serve clients. Next is technology risk. It relates to the software and hardware that the company operates off of. If a system outage or hardware failure was to occur, then that impacts the employee's ability to access resources to fulfill their job duties. For leadership, this matters because this directly impacts operations and its ability to serve clients. Last is third-party vendor risk. It relates to the software and services that are outsourced for operations. If a security incident or an outage was to occur, it will directly impact business operations. For leadership, it matters because it will directly impact the ability to serve clients. Now that we have reviewed the risk taxonomy, the next step will be to identify what the organization depends on. In the next video, we'll do a walkthrough of the asset inventory and connect it to the risk categories. If you found this video helpful, follow along as we continue walking through the risk management process and how it applies to real organizations. My name is JIMMIA Williams, and this is the JIMMIA Effect.